Okay, we are done with Project 2. So we started with Project 1 and everything leading up to there, looking at creating sounds using spatialization, silence, and building up to an acousmatic piece. Project 2, we explored Foley art and scoring for film. Now we're going to put all of this together as we get into creating sound and music for video games using Unity and FMOD. So, for those of you who have not explored video games, at least from the creation standpoint, Unity and FMOD are two of the more popular programs out there for editing a game and then for adding sound to it. There are others as well that you should explore, like Unreal and WWise, but we don't have a lot of time, so we're only going to go with these two. So, as preface, this is a really complex topic, and we only have a couple of weeks to go over these concepts. As such, during class, I'm going to be doing most of the how do you do X, Y, and Z? How do you edit a script? How do you insert a runtime manager into the script? How do you create a triggering function? How do you decide where to put an emitter in the inspector in Unity? All of that. I will record all of those and put them up on Moodle as unlisted videos so that they are only viewable within our course page. But if you want to go out and look for tutorials, if you have a question and I'm not available, there are tons on YouTube. With a but, which is that with the 2020 version of Unity, there were a lot of changes that were introduced. Most of it will still work, but there are some things that may not be there anymore. With FMOD 2.0, there were also some major changes, especially with some of the stuff in the script with get parameter not being required anymore. So you can just do set parameter. We'll talk about that when we get into scripting, but it's something to be aware of. So if you go through some of those tutorials on YouTube, some of that stuff might not work. And then finally, be aware that this is only going to be covering how to use FMOD middleware to add audio assets to a game. I am not going to teach you how to make a game itself. So be aware of that. First things first, before class, you need to get Unity and FMOD installed on your computer. Pretty easy. Go to unity.com, sign up, log in, go to Get Unity, and then download the personal license, which is the free one. It will be fine for everything we're going to do in this class. So download it and install it. As you're installing it, it will also install Microsoft Visual Studio, which is fine because we're going to need it for editing scripts. It just lets you edit code in different languages, but most notably C#, which is the scripting language that's used for Unity. If you don't like Visual Studio, you can use a different program to edit your code. I'm going to be using VS Code. You can use Atom, you can use Emacs, whatever you prefer. I don't care, but just make sure that you have an auto-completion feature in there because that will save a ton of time. If it has error checking, even better. Anyway, if you decide you want to use a different editor, all you have to do is go to the Unity menu, Preferences, External Tools, External Script Editor, and change it there. Really easy. You will definitely want to include the standard assets package in Unity. I have a link to a tutorial, but we're definitely going to do that in class as well. You will also probably want to download the example project as well so you can see how a basic game is structured and play around with it and use that to practice where you're inserting different audio assets. And last but not least, you will definitely want to download and install build support for both Mac and Windows platforms. With Windows, download the Mono build support version. FMOD is going to be a lot of fun. This is an audio middleware program. That's an application or plugin that is designed specifically to create and manage interactive audio with less coding than you would normally have to do in order to make it interactive. So again, it is free. go to fmod.com, sign up, and log in. Then when you go to download it, make sure you get the latest stable version. Do not get a testing version. They definitely are not stable. And you want FMOD Studio. You do not want FMOD API. That is not something we're going to be playing around with in this class. So latest stable version of FMOD Studio, download it, install it. That's it. But then you will need to integrate Unity and FMOD. And I'll demo this in class, but just to go over how you do it, it's pretty easy. First, you open Unity and you create a new Unity session, or you import an existing session. Then, since you can have multiple programs open up FMOD Studio and create a new session, and it's going to be blank. Just go ahead and save it. And write down the location where you saved it to. I like to put it in the exact same folder as the Unity project. That is a huge hint. It makes it really, really easy to find, and it keeps everything in one folder. So if you need to move it to a different hard drive, you can do that. Then, back to Unity. Under Window, you can open the Asset Store if you still have that option available. They are kind of phasing that out. So what I recommend is instead open a web browser and go to assetstore.unity.com. You will have to log in using your Unity account, then search for FMOD for Unity and add that to your assets. It is the free one, not one of the paid ones. Then do the same thing for the standard assets for Unity. Again, these are free assets. You are not paying any cash for this. Then go back into Unity, go to the Windows menu and Package Manager, and under Packages, open up My Assets. And it should have both FMOD and standard assets in there. So just go ahead, go to FMOD, click Import, make sure everything is checked, and import everything. Don't worry about standard assets just yet. We'll do those later because we're not going to take everything. So once you've done that, you're going to get an error where the Unity console will be like, hey, there's an FMOD project indicated, but we don't know which one it is. So it's not a problem. We just need to tell it which project it's going to use. So you'll notice that along the top of your menu, you now have a FMOD menu in Unity. So just go to FMOD menu and then Edit Settings, and that will open up the inspector on the side. Then it's going to say, what is the studio project path? Click on that, browse, find the project that you just created in FMOD. You're going to look for the project.fspro file. Click on that, and that should take it into Unity. So now the last thing we need to do is to start getting rid of the Unity audio. That's really easy. In Unity, we just go to Edit menu, then Project Settings, then Audio, and then disable Unity audio. Super simple. Okay, so then at that point, we can create objects and we can add components to them using just the basic game objects. So things like cubes, spheres, nothing too crazy, but if you want to, you can just create a cube somewhere in 3D space in the inspector, select it, and then in the inspector, add component, and you should now be able to add an FMOD Studio listener. So that's cool, but it's probably not going to be good to put that on the 3D cube. I would put that on the camera. That's generally where your view is going to be. You can also create other objects or put them on the camera that will emit audio, and then do that in the inspector as well. So the way that we're going to be putting audio into Unity is primarily going to be using either the FMOD Studio event emitter in the object inspector in Unity, but we're also going to be doing a little bit of scripting. So just be aware there are a couple of ways we can do this. So be aware that you will need to integrate FMOD into Unity with every new project. Anytime you create a new project or import a project, you'll have to reintegrate FMOD. But you no longer have to search the asset store if you go to Window Package Manager, you should have FMOD for Unity automatically show up under the My Assets packages, and then you can just re-import it. We will look at this more in class, but for now, just make sure that you have a saved Unity project with FMOD. They can both be blank. You're not going to get any sound out of them yet. Just have them ready to go for Tuesday, and then we will talk about how to use the emitter and the listener to create sound playback. We're going to look at integrating the standard assets as well, just creating some basic game objects, nothing fancy. It's going to be like cubes, spheres, and maybe some planes, and that's about it, and having the camera allow you to walk around. But we'll do that in class, and we'll start adding some basic audio to Unity objects.